So before we get started, don't hesitate to, well, please actually, check out the CS15 website and clone the stencil. Just as a reminder, it's going to be git, clone, and then you paste the GitHub thing that you've been able to find, and then press enter. I'm not going to do that because I've already set up my code along folder. Hi everyone, and welcome to Code Along 2, or as it's better known, writing classes Code Along. So we're going to be covering a bunch of different topics, including, and I think in order, creating a constructor, creating accessor and mutator methods, or as they're better known, getters and setters, reviewing the difference between declaring, initializing, and instantiating instance variables. We're also going to be using print lines to check methods and to just add some pizzazz. And then we're also going to be writing our very own methods. So we're going to be able to review that. All right, so let's get started. This code is similar to last Code Along's code where we're in a restaurant setting, as y'all have seen as well in lecture. So let's kind of get familiarized with this code. We have 3 classes, although I do know that the sidebar is a bit confusing because there's also some class files from compilation. So we have a main class, which has the public static void main method that kind of runs our entire code when we call on it. Y'all will see more in detail what everything means later on. We have our restaurant class. Our restaurant class, you can see that, so here's the constructor because it says public and then the class name. And then we can see that there's an instance variable called main chef of chef. And there's 2 methods currently. One is create menu and one is see menu. This makes sense because that's basically what the restaurant is supposed to take care of, the menu. We also have a chef class. In this chef class, our chef can have a signature dish at a signature price. Yeah, so our chefs are basically specialists. All right, so let's get started. Our goal in this code along is to get our chefs to be able to cook their signature dishes at signature prices and just basically kind of get this restaurant to work. That's the idea. So let's first start with the chef class. In the chef class, you can see that we're missing a constructor. As a reminder, this is what a constructor looks like. So it's going to be public and then chef, because that's the name of the class. Parentheses, I don't put anything in there just yet, because currently the chef isn't really taking in any parameters. And then the brackets, curly brackets. So this is our constructor. We now should initialize our instance variables. So our chef class has 2 instance variables right here. So as a reminder of the format is going to be private because instance variables are private to the class. They can't be called outside of it. This is good design and containment in Java and in OOP. We're going to have the type. So for signature dish, it's a string, and for signature price, it's an int. And then we're going to have the name. So access, type, name. And so this is a declaration of an instance variable because we're just telling Java, okay, this exists. Now let's initialize them. Normally, yeah, let's initialize them. So this is going to look like this dot, because we're referring to an instance variable, and this refers to the class. This is how we call on an instance variable. So this dot signature dish. So this is how we call on the signature dish instance variable. And then we're going to set it to, okay, so it's a string, right? Let's say that our chef learns to cook something really simple, like toast. Toast. Cool. That's a very sad dish to have. Not dissing on any toast fans, but yeah. And then this signature price, let's just set this as $1 because I don't know if anyone would pay more than $1 for toast. Amazing. So now we've initialized the instance variables, the signature dish and the signature price. And their initial values are toast and 1. We don't have to worry so much about them currently. Not all chefs will only be stuck making toast. because we're going to be using accessor and mutator variables later on. Well, mutator variables mainly, to change their signature dish as they get more specialized. Okay, so let's also have the chef introduce themselves. As a reminder, constructors are called whenever a new instance of chef is made, or at least a new instance of the class is made. So whenever we create a new chef, we're going to be setting this signature dish equals toast and this signature price equals 1. And yeah, if we go back to the restaurant class, we can see that part of the code here is this main chef equals new chef Andy. So our chefs have names, and it would be nice if they'd be able to introduce themselves to the diners that they're serving. You can see that there's an error here. Expected 0 arguments, but found 1. What does this mean? This means that the chef class, as how it's programmed, does not take in an argument. So let's change that so that the chefs can all have their own names. And then, so here in the constructor, let's make it so that the chef can take in a name argument. So their parameter is going to be string, because names are strings, and let's call it name, right? So as a reminder, parameters is going to be type and then name, or whatever you want to refer to the parameter as. So, okay, let's make our chef introduce themselves. Out, line. Hi, my name is name plus, and don't forget the semicolon. Great. So we now have our chef introducing themselves. Let's compile the code to make sure that Andy, our main chef, is actually introducing himself properly. So currently in code along 1, so let's compile. Code along 2, sorry. Get out of code along 2, and then run the code. So Java code along 2.name. Hi, my name is Andy. Perfect. As a reminder, don't forget to remove all your to-do comments or else you'll lose points when it comes to the assignments. Also, it's a good way of keeping track of all your work because when you see no more to-do comments, that probably means you're done. So we created a constructor and we initialized the instance variables. Great. So now, let's take a closer look at the chef class. We can see that there's a set signature dish and a get signature dish. So the set signature dish is a mutator method. It's also called a setter because it's going to set the instance variable signature dish to whatever value you pass in. So it changes the value of the signature dish. Get signature dish is a getter method or an accessor method because it lets you have access or get this signature dish. So the instance variable inside chef. It does this by having, in this case, string return type. That way it's able to give you, in a way, outside of chef class, a signature dish. These accessor methods are about signature dish, but something else that's important to know is signature price. So the price of this signature dish. This is important because the chef should really be focused on cooking, not calculating the price of their signature dishes. It's also useful for a menu because the menu also has to know whatever price each dish is set as. And the menu is in restaurant, not in chef. Chef should not be handling the menu. So it's useful to create accessor and mutator methods for the chef's signature price, as it'll let restaurant handle the pricing when it comes to dishes. So what does this look like concretely? So let's first write an accessor method for get signature for signature price. As any method, it's going to start with the access. So in this case, it's public, since we want this method to be used outside of chef or be able to be accessed outside of chef. The return type for an accessor method is going to be the type of whatever we want to return. In this case, we're trying to return signature price, which here, as you can see, is an int. So the return type is going to be int, and then as formatting or as we traditionally name them, it's going to be get, and whatever we're getting, which is signature price. Thank you, IntelliJ. And then curly brackets. And oh no, IntelliJ is currently yelling at me. It's saying it's missing a return statement. Yup, because an accessor method, its body is only a return method. As you can see here, in the public string get signature dish, it's returning the signature dish. So set signature price, boop. And a setter method instead of having a non-void return type, has a parameter, because we'll be passing in whatever we want to change the instance variable to. So in set signature price, since we want to change signature price, we're going to pass in whatever numbers, for example, an int price that we want to change this signature price to. This signature price equals price. So what does this actually look like? This looks like we call on set signature price, we put in like a 3, and now inside chef, this signature price is going to be 3 instead of the 1 up here. All right, back to restaurant class. Now that chef's looking all nice and dandy. So Andy is looking a bit lonely, if not overworked, because currently in this restaurant, there's only one singular chef having to take care of everything. So let's make a second chef to try to help him out. So format for instance variable declaration, it has to be before the constructor, which in this case is public restaurant, since the class name is restaurant, but after the public class restaurant, like inside the class file. So it's going to go right here. Instance variables are going to be private because they shouldn't be accessed outside. They shouldn't be able to be accessed outside except for getter methods. And that's just good containment. That's just good design. So private of type what? Of type chef, since we want to make a chef. And then let's name them sous chef. Because I think that's how the order works. All right, so how it works: access, which is private, type, which is chef, name, which we're naming them sous chef, and that's what we're going to refer them to by. All right, now let's initialize and instantiate this sous chef of ours. So what's the difference between initializing and instantiating? Initializing means you're giving an initial value to sous chef, and instantiating is always accompanied by the new keyword, because you're saying that it's of a certain type and you're creating a new instance, that's why it's called instantiation, of a type.
You can think of this way. While instantiating refers to the new keyword that you can see with new chef Andy, initializing refers to the call to constructor chef Andy, because while new creates a new instance of the chef class, the call to constructor chef actually assigns that value to this main chef. So in the line this.main chef equals new chef Andy, there's both instantiation, because of the new keyword, and initialization, because we're assigning a value to this main chef. And don't forget, in your constructor, you should always initialize all of your instance variables.
This sous chef equals new chef. So this is what the format is going to look like. It's going to be this sous chef, because we refer to all instance variables with this, this keyword, and then new because we're instantiating it, and then chef because that's the type of sous chef. And then we're going to name the sous chef, sorry. All right, now let's move to our create menu method. This is the method signature as a reminder, and create menu is the name. So we've made it so that this main chef set signature dish is cookies. So that's their like upgrade from toast. So we can see it's kind of bakery themed. So let's make this a bakery, even though they're not bakers. Um, so in the create menu, we've made it so that cookies is a dish that the main chef makes or cooks, um, is able to cook. And so it's just listed in the menu. Well, we're not listening quite yet. So let's uncomment this. And now we're setting the signature price of that main chef's signature dish, so the cookies, to $6 a cookie. I don't know if that's reasonable. Let's do the same thing for our sous chef, because our sous chef should also not have their signature dish as toast. So to method call, we take our object, which is the sous chef. We call the method on it, which is set signature dish, and then we're going to change the signature dish from toast to a croissant. And then this sous chef, we're going to set the price of this dish to 7. Let's do that. All right, duty completed. Amazing. Now this menu is great and all, but currently no one can really see it. No one can really access it, which means there's a menu, but us as diners can't order anything on it. Great. So let's actually attempt to see the menu. To do, uncomment this line. There we go. So we have a print line here that's given to us that does this main chef gets signature dish, comma, this main chef gets signature price. So normally what should be happening is when we compile and run this, we get a menu of sorts inside the print lines that has the signature dish and the signature price. Let's do the same thing for the sous chef. Control copy, control paste. So as you can notice, okay, so we're going to do print line. Ooh. Okay, this sous chef don't get signature dish. So this accessor method or getter method that we just wrote lets us access whatever signature dish we set sous chef signature dishes. Meaning, currently, this is going to return a string. If we hover on it, it returns, so public string get signature dish. It returns a string of that signature dish plus comma plus this signature dish. Oh, the sous chef dot get signature price. And yeah, normally the format should be the same when it comes to the menu. Let's double check this. So we're going to compile. Oh, move into code along 2 first. Compile. Move out. And then run. Great. So we now have 2 chefs. We have one chef named Andy who's presenting himself, one chef named Effie who's presenting themselves, and then we have the menu which says cookies 6, croissants 7. That's great and all. How about we add another dish to the menu as the to-do comment suggests. So we're going to do another print line, system.out.print line, and to stay in the same vein, to the same format, let's do baguettes. Baguettes, comma, 3. That's a bit of a ripoff, but that's all right. Once again, let's make sure that everything's working by cding into code along 2, compiling, cding out of it, and then running it. Amazing. We now have a third item on our menu, baguettes 3. Amazing. So now we can, oh, I didn't use the actual print line. is handily given print line here if you want to use it. I'm just going to delete it because it currently doesn't really do much for us. All right, so that's good and all, but we actually right now don't have our chefs cook anything. So that's a bit of an issue. So right now, if we were to visualize this restaurant, it's a nice restaurant. There's a nice menu. You can look at the menu. You try ordering it, and your chefs are unable to make anything, which is a bit odd because they say they can make stuff. So let's go back to the chef class. The chefs should be able to cook something. And since it's an ability of theirs, it's something they should be able to do, let's make a cook method. So I'll delete this to do once again. All right, so what does the method look like? Again, it's going to be access, so public, because we want to use this method outside of the chef class and restaurant class. What it returns, well, the chefs are cooking something. They're not necessarily trying to return anything. If anything, it's the wait staff that should be bringing the order over to the diners. So we're just going to set this as void and then cook. All right. Now wait a minute. How do the chefs know what exactly they're supposed to cook? They can't always just cook the exact same thing every time, right? Because I mean, there's going to be more, as we can see, there's 3 items on our menu and only 2 chefs. So you can't hard code whatever they're cooking. So how about we make a parameter so that we can tell the chefs, oh, you should cook this. So let's make this parameter string, and then dish. Let's call it dish, not signature dish, dish. All right, and let's have a nice little print line just to let us know that, oh yes, our chef is actually cooking whatever it is we're asking him to cook. The system dot out dot print line. Let's see. Let's put your order of dish is being prepared. Let's copy this and copy a control copy. Your order of dish is nearly done. Then one last step. Your order of dish is now served. Is now served. And let's put a little yum in there because hopefully the diners will enjoy it. Amazing. So now your chefs are able to cook something. Now let's actually make them cook whatever you're asking them to cook. So if we go back to the restaurant class, let's do what the to-do says. Let's have our chefs cook something. So that's going to look a little like a method call. So it's going to be this main chef cook, right? So the object, the method name that we're calling on this main chef, cook. Let's make our main chef cook. Baguette, even though that's more baking. Baguettes. Then let's make our main chef cook. How about we make them cook their signature dish? The thing is, we don't necessarily know what their signature dish is. Here, it's true that we set them to cookies, but imagine we set it to something else somewhere else. We still want our main chef to cook their signature dish because, well, it's their signature dish. How do we do that? We do that with nesting that you guys have seen in AndyBot. Nesting a method call. So we can do this main chef cook, this main chef get signature dish. The reason why we're able to do this is because this is an accessor or getter method that's going to return, it's going to give us a string. As you can see, if you hover over it, you can see it's public string get signature dish, which means this main chef dot get signature dish, that gives us a string, which means we're able to pass it into cook, which also takes in a string as an argument. Think about that for a second. Yeah, and then let's also make our sous chef. We made a sous chef for a reason. so they could cook stuff. So this sous chef get signature dish. Oh, dot cook. There we go. Let's try compiling and see if everything works. Hopefully it does. Java C. Oh, right. CD code along do Java C dot star dot Java CD out. And there we go. We now have our two chefs introducing themselves, our menu looking snazzy, and then all of our orders getting cooked or baked or whatever it is that you want. And so we have your order of baguettes that matches our print line here of we want them to cook baguettes, our order of cookies that matches the signature dish that we set our main chef's signature dish to be, and then as well our order of croissants is getting cooked, just like what we set our sous chefs. So basically, we now have a functional-ish restaurant where our chefs are able to, well, more like our restaurant is able to create a menu, we're able to see the menu, and then we're able to have our chefs actually cook things. So hopefully this code along was able to help in the topics that I described previously, for example, actually using getters and setters, seeing the possibilities of getters and setters, as in nesting them, seeing the use of them, getting some practice declaring and instantiating and initializing instance variables, and writing new methods and constructors and all that stuff. Hopefully it clears all of that up. Yeah, we hope to see you in our next code along, which is going to be Java FX. So it's geared towards Cartoon, which is a much later project. And yeah, good luck with Pong, everyone.